Well, welcome back to Matchday Live, and we have got a Wednesday night treat for you in the form of our fixture in the Premier League against Brentford. Of course, following that 1-0 win earlier in the season, Manchester City are looking for their first league double over Brentford since the 1936-37 season. That is a long time ago, a season in which they won their first top-flight title. See the boys arriving there. We'll be bringing you team news in just a second. Can also give you a good start that bodes well for tonight. Manchester City have won each of their last 17 Premier League games played on a Wednesday, which of course included that 1-0 win against Brentford in the reverse fixture in December. Let's hoping it'll be another 3 points tonight. So good to be back with you. My name is Kel Spellman. Welcome along to Matchday Live. We are live from the Etihad, of course, for our game against Brentford. And here, joining me in the studio, we will be joined by Darius Vassell. He's had a few travel difficulties, but here to hold down the fort, it is a man, the legend that is, Mr. Trevor Sinclair. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Happy Hump Day. It obviously is for City fans.
It is indeed. And listen, we'll be hoping we can maybe, if you're feeling a little bit down about Hump Day, we'll be turning it up, turn it into a good one, won't we? With
we will be.
3 points, hopefully. How are you feeling just about the fixture today, Trev?
I feel comfortable and confident. I think you look at the way Brentford have been losing games. Unfortunately, they started the season really well. But the way we've been playing, especially at home, it's been phenomenal. I think we're on a 9 home game win run. So really good for the lads. Not many injuries. Cole Palmer and Jesus. So, full squad. I think the lads have had a bit of time to look at this. The last game was Southampton. That was disappointing away from home. So they want to put that right. And I'm sure that they've been training hard and getting ready for this and preparing properly for this game to go at it and win the game. Absolutely.
Well, listen, let's take a look at what we've got coming up on today's show. Then, of course, we'll be bringing you our starting 11. But first, coming up on Matchday Live today. Shirt signed by that man, Phil Foden. That is going to be to do with City in the community. Hear about that a little bit later on. We're also going to be doing a brand new feature looking at our first, last and best worst games of today's guests, Trevor Sinclair and Darius Vassell. And doing a focus on some top scoring defenders. We've been very lucky this season with a few goals from all our defenders. And of course, as we do every show, Cryptic City. But since we've done all that, and as I say, Darius Vassell will be joining us imminently, let me bring you Manchester City's starting 11 as chosen by Pep Guardiola. It looks like this. Ederson starts in goal. Our defenders tonight consist of John Stones, Ruben Diaz, Aymeric Laporte and João Cancelo. How they set up is definitely going to be a talking point for me and Trevor in just a sec. We're thinking a midfield 3 of Rodri, De Bruyne and Silva. And a forward 3 of Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden and Raheem Sterling. Over on our bench, as Trevor said there at the start of the show, 2 injuries, which is why you won't see Gabriel Jesus or Cole Palmer on there. Who you will see is Zach Stefan, Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, Ilkay Gundogan, Jack Grealish, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, Delap and James McAtee. Very strong starting 11 chosen by Pep. I want to begin with the defence because we were trying to work out, Trev, it's unusual to see Diaz, Stones, Laporte all on the same starting 11. How do you think we could see this being set up?
Well, put yourself in Thomas Frank's shoes. He's thinking, what are they playing here? What formation? So it's difficult. They could play Laporte on the left side and play a flat back 4, or they could go to a 3 and play a 3-4-3 and just move one of the players out of there into a wing back role. So it's you don't know. I think once the game starts, it's kind of adaptable as well because you've got players that can play in slightly different positions, so they could change it up. So looking forward to seeing what the setup is. I think when you become an elite manager, sometimes you'll set up and at the start of the game, you'll start in a formation to try and get the other manager thinking, oh yeah, they're going with this.
Yeah.
And as the game evolves, they'll just set it back into the normal formation and try and catch the opposition manager out and the opposition team.
It was a really interesting point, I think you said as well, because obviously Cancelo was bought as a right back, of course, from Juventus. We've seen Kyle Walker absolutely smash that position. Of course, he is absolutely on the bench. But it was interesting, Trev. But before we get to that, by the way, it gives me great pleasure for the first time on the show with myself, Mr. Darius Vassell, welcome along. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Just mentioning João Cancelo here, you said, though, of course, known as a right-back by trade, but also could quite prefer it on the left.
I like him more on the left. I think defensively he shows players in on his stronger side. Obviously, he's right-hand side, so he's showing him into bodies. But going the other way, when he gets in and around the box, he's got a whip. as in a switch and a cross, but he's also got that shot where he cuts in on his right, and he's been phenomenal with his finishing this year. I think he's been one of the most improved players for Manchester City. I remember his first game, I was watching him, I was in the comms down here at the Etihad, and I was watching him warm up, and I thought, ooh, he looks lively. And then as he got into the team and things didn't really start off too great for him, and he struggled a little bit, but then he's got used to Pep's ways, got used to the training, got used to the formation and the interchanging of positions, and now he looks the real deal. And he's just signed his new contract, which I'm really pleased for, because he's one of the best fullbacks around.
How difficult is that, Darius? You know, when you talk about that players that can interchange seamlessly, not only just kind of if you start them in a position, but also to be able to do it in a game, which we've got used to seeing in City's play. Just for people at home, because we make it look so easy, how difficult is it technically, say for a Cancelo, to be able to play just as good on the right-hand side of the pitch as the left-hand side of the pitch?
Yeah, it's difficult for people who can't do it, so that's the best way to put it.
Not us.
Not us, we can do it. But more importantly, I think of it from the receiving end, so from a striker's point of view, you've got a player that can play on both sides. Those are two different looks that you get as a striker, two different opportunities to receive the ball, and that's better for you. It's more opportunity. Normally you tend to see a certain footy player on the same side of the pitch as the foot that he plays on, but when they can play on the other side, you get different looks in terms of the runs that you're making into pockets to receive the ball. So, and I think it's worked well for City over the season so far.
It really, really has. As we move into the midfield, I think it's kind of been one of the most consistent times we've seen Rodri, De Bruyne, and of course Bernardo Silva. Of course, De Bruyne had the injury at the start of the season. That seems to be turning into a really devastating and formidable midfield three, doesn't it, Trev?
They complement each other really well. Again, the rotation's really good. You know, ordinarily Rodri's going to sit, but he can step in. I think his fitness levels have got massively improved since he's been at the football club. Silva, what can you say about him? You know, he's a special player. He's got a special personality on the pitch. He wants to win. He wants to compete for every ball. He's got plenty of legs on him. He's mobile. He's fit. His touch is brilliant, and we've spoken about him before, how well he dribbles with the ball as well. I just can visualise that Liverpool run where he took about 4 or 5 players on. But they have got a great relationship now. They respect each other, they take responsibility, and if two players end up going forward, the other one will just sit in and make sure that they don't empty the field. And it's just great to see. And just talking about players being able to rotate, I remember when Pep was asked questions about no striker. He's like, well, you can have players who play a certain position, or you can have footballers. He's got pure footballers at this football club.
Yeah, it must be an absolute joy as a manager, and also an absolute joy to coach. And then you look at our forward three. I mean, he was the goal scorer as well for our game against Southampton, Phil Foden. But I want to talk to you about Raheem Sterling, Darius, because obviously start the season had that slight little dip in form. But Trev, you mentioned it as well. He kind of has that resilience in the character to go and find that best form, which we're seeing now. And actually, he seems to be constantly taking his game to a new level. Just how good is he, and do you think he could get even better?
He sets his standards so high, doesn't he? And it makes it look like he has a dip in form sometimes when he has a few quiet games. And that's a victim of his own success, I would say. But as a player, you talk to defenders, he's the one player, or one of the players, that they would hate playing against.
Yeah.
You know, every game. He brings so much to the table. His end product has come into form now as well. And again, the players around him complement him, and he's another player that can play in any one of those positions across the front three. So you will find, if he's having a quiet game, he may switch over to the other side and do a bit on that side, and it's hell for defenders.
Yeah.
So I think, in a way, he's been a victim of how good he's been.
It's a great point. It's really a great point, and I heard a great stat before we came to the show today, which I think just highlights, what he's done so far in his career. If he scores tonight, do you know that he matches Didier Drogba's goals in the Premier League?
Incredible.
It's insane, isn't it?
I think he's a reflection of his upbringing. From Jamaica, he come over to live in South London. He was in London. It was a working class background, and he's had to show resilience, get the bus to this club, put the hours in, do the training. Very small. Again, went against him, but he's found a way. And I always say, if you've got it in you, you'll find a way. Winners find a way, and he's exactly done that. But the foundation of his success is the way he trains every day. Every manager that he's worked for always says the same thing. It doesn't matter if he's had a bad game. He won't go hiding. The next day in training, he'll be there putting the work in.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great example to any kids that are learning the trade.
I was going to say, actually, I mean, I know you're both coaches as well, and actually, I guess for any young players that are watching from around the world, actually, it's not what you may be doing on the pitch necessarily. Actually, the foundations and fundamentals have to be done on the training pitch, and is the key to any success, I guess.
Yeah, as Trev said, it's how you handle adversity when it comes to it. And he, with his upbringing, he's got used to certain things. He's been grounded. He's set himself out a stall in the way that he's going to train and the way he's going to play. And he's now a role model, a real role model that young players look up to and want to be like. And he's flying that flag really well at the moment. And long may that continue, and fair play to him, because, as I say, it's a long journey.
Yeah.
Coming through London, trying to, get on buses and trains and, get to training and all of that. But he's reaping the rewards now, and the City fans here are reaping the rewards of him, so fair play to him.
Speaking of, actually being a role model, actually, I know a lot of young players within the academy talk about always Sterling is one that every single one of them mentions as being a great guide and teacher. And on the bench, we've got Delap and McAtee. Of course, he signed that new contract as well earlier on last week. He came on, so did Delap, unfortunately not with his goal. But they went away to the EDS this week, and I think McAtee, whose stats for this season are unbelievable, but 2 goals, I think another one was a free kick, and assist for McAtee, a goal for Delap again. So to actually be able to go away from being surrounded, by Manchester City's world-class players, but then still be doing it with the EDS when asked for, that probably says so much about the character and why Pep is kind of rating them so highly, Darius.
Certainly, yeah. And if you want to get into the manager's good books, if you want to catch the manager's attention, if you want to get that opportunity to get that run in the side, go and score some goals.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that. And if he's doing that, wow, fair play.
It's a culture at the football club. We spoke about it last time.
Yeah.
Cole Palmer got 2 minutes for the first team. Got his socks, probably got a minibus or something over to the academy, and then played a game and scored a hat-trick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about talent. It's about cultures, and it's about setting good examples and having standards and humbling yourself. And actually, he could have gone over there and thought, I've just played 2 minutes, I warmed up, I did this, I did that, and been tripping over his lip and feeling a bit sorry for himself. They've not got that mentality.
Yeah.
They're going to go out there and show him why he's in the first team squad. And that's exactly what he did by scoring the hat-trick.
No, as well, we speaking before, same as me, I think like a lot of City fans, we were very happy to see McAtee sign that new contract, because obviously there was a slight worry of what's going to happen with his future, and actually now we know he's committed to City. I think that's every City fan's dream.
Again, a little bit like Cole, the way they receive the ball on the back foot, they've checked the shoulder, they get into them little pockets of spaces, on little passing lanes, they know what's around them, and they're already turning and twisting players up before they're beating men before they've even got the ball. They're taking players out of the game. So obviously a very, very big talent, and it's great that he signed his contract. Not only for the club, but because he sees his future here. Because you've seen players come through now, you've seen Phil come through.
Yeah.
I think there's starting to become a tradition now at the club that they want to build on. And Pep's always said he wants to do something similar to what Sir Alex Ferguson did at Manchester United and bring a lot of young players through the academy. It seems to be that's what's coming out.
We're starting to see it, and there is the one who's case in point, and obviously he's kind of leading the way, Phil Foden, who I remember thinking he was offside for this goal, but of course this was the 1-0 win earlier on in December at Brentford, which was a very tight game, but beautiful finish this, wasn't it, Darius, when it came?
Oh, good movement as well, yeah. Timing's impeccable there. You can't mark that, yeah. And I think, as Trev says, that culture, so young players are seeing him do that, and they're believing now at the club, the 12s, 11s, whatever age they are, they're believing that they've got a chance. Sometimes there's talk of top teams with top money, having the money to just buy whatever they want, and they don't look at the youth and all of that. And I think that what Pep's doing is he's wiping that, out the water. What he's doing now is he's building for the future, and the young lads who are seeing players like that score those goals, they're feeling like they can do it as well now.
Inspiring them.
Yeah, they can be a part of it as well. I just want to quickly ask, because there was a line you said there, Darius, which I absolutely love, where you said that they're beating them before they've even got the ball. Yeah. For just, maybe the idiot like me, is that when they talk about game intelligence, is that part of it, that you're actually kind of them, like David Silva case, what would always feel like 3 steps ahead?
He's a good example. Yeah. So, he's playing a different game to everybody else. It's the same game on the face of it, because there's green grass and there's a football rolling around. But he's thinking moves ahead, basically, and he's planning what he's going to do based on, players around him that produce, that they're consistent, they're not messing up his plan because they're doing things on point. So he's already knows what turns he's gonna do before he's got the ball, 3 passes before.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe that.
It is, and you see a lot of young players coming in when they're not sure, they'll flick it and have a little gamble and just and lose gamble, the ball. Yeah. They take responsibility. They've come in. They've obviously been coached really well.
Yeah.
They're checking the shoulder. They know exactly what their spatial awareness is and who's around them. and they're taking responsibility. And if they're not sure, they'll chop it back the way it's come and maybe do a little bounce pass.
Yes.
But it's just really amazing to see such young players having that much control and that much maturity on the ball.
Well, that brings me to my next question. Is that kind of superior game intelligence, is that natural ability, or can you train that as well?
It's being trained, I think, week in, week out with them and the company that they keep in training. They're seeing it happen anyway. They can't help but do it. As a young player, you watch, you look up to people and you want to be like them. And if you've got the right people around you, you will start to latch onto the skills that they've got. And when you look at the Fodens, you do see similarities in the David Silvas, obviously the Bernardos here that are there now.
Yes.
You see it,
Yeah.
and you can tell. I mean, training, we had a glimpse of it, didn't we? A glimpse of it when we was at City and they started bringing in all the Brazilians and all of that. But imagine if you're a young player, week in, week out, training with those guys, saying, I want to be as good as you. I want you to notice me as a player. It's no doubt and it's no surprise that they come through with the talent and the goods now.
Yeah, absolutely. Gents, flipping love that. Thank you so much. I'm going to be bringing you Brentford teams news in just a second. Before I do that, though, remember, you can get in touch with the show here at Matchday Live. Very, very simple. You can send us a tweet. This will come through to my iPad here as well, so I'm seeing everything that you're saying. Don't worry. And also, that number there at the bottom, that is our WhatsApp number. So if maybe you've got a question for Darius or for Trev, please send it in, and I'll be dropping them to our guests throughout the show. I'll also be doing it at half-time and at full-time, of course, because Matchday Live is going to be with you every step of the way. Let's turn our attention to Brentford. Let me bring you our starting 11. It looks like this. Here we are, Brentford starting 11. Ryan Martin in net. Then, of course, there we've got Henry, Pinnock, Janssen. I think this is Vassell Ache. Sorry if I've got that wrong. Rozolev Ramussen. There's Norgard, Onyeka, Jensen, Godos, and Tenez there up front as well, number 7. And then on the bench, they've got Fernandez, Lossell, De Silva, Wissa, Mbeumo, Baptiste, Sorensen, and Stevens. Darius, Brentford Football Club, before we focus on where they're now, of course, started the season very, very well, had that little dip. Now, what do you think is going to be their game plan going into tonight?
I did listen to the manager's interview, or one of his interviews, and he even said himself he'd be surprised if he came from the game with anything. Yeah. Now, he probably didn't mean to say that because of the language barrier and stuff like that, but I do believe deep down that Brentford don't really expect to get much out of the game, and I think it's going to be really difficult for them going in towards the end of the season, simply because every team now is fighting for something or scrapping for something. They're at the wrong end of the table. They're coming to places like this. These are kind of probably going to be games where they look to get out of it unscathed, in the sense that no injuries, nothing embarrassing. Yes. And then they move on to the next game. And I know it might sound disrespectful, but we've got to be realistic here. Yeah. Even the manager, he didn't sound like he believed in his team, and that will filter through to the players. And I think, as a realist, the players would be realistic in thinking it's going to be very difficult to get anything here. Yeah,
it really, really is. I think as well, what's probably made it that little bit more difficult, big name missing from their starting 11, and we assume it might be an injury. Ivan Toney, of course, who is so prolific in their championship last season, not on the bench or starting 11.
Yeah,
big miss.
Yeah, it's a big miss. I'm a big fan of his because, we look at him as a striker. But I've seen some of his performances, and he'll be in the right back position, working hard for the team. He is a leader. He wants to win. He wants to compete, and he's not one of them strikers that just stays up there and expects the lads to do the work and get him the ball. He'll go and work for the boys. He wins flick-ons. He's got good quality, real good focal point as well. But he's very, very unselfish on the ball as well, because the chances that he sets up for his teammates, again, he's not a typical striker. Most strikers, and I put you in this bracket. Most strikers want to score the goals themselves, but Darius was slightly different. He was happy to assist as well. But most strikers, they want the ball coming into them for them to. So he is. I think he's a bit of a rare gem. I think he's going to improve. This is his first season in the Premier League. He's done it the hard way. He's had a really difficult pathway. He went to Newcastle as a young man. Pinnock as well, another player in their team, the central defender. He's playing the 6th tier, 7th tier not so long ago, and he's worked hard. He's made the best of himself. He's reached his potential, and he's playing in the Premier League. So kudos. They've got a lot of players that have had really difficult journeys, but they've got a good team spirit. They've got a fantastic manager. But I'm with Darius. They started the season very well, and the 22 points now. The 4 points outside where it really gets very difficult, and I think they could get dragged into it because, like Darius said earlier, every team now. Newcastle have improved. Everton have just got Frank in. They've just got a few players back into the Everton squad. Every team's going to, Dean Smith at Norwich, Burnley, they've just brought a new player in, Weghorst. Every team's improved and they're trying to get themselves out of that situation. I just feel that Brentford, with their lack of time in the Premier League and lack of experience in the Premier League, could get dragged right back into it.
I wonder what you both thought, because, they were so prolific in the Championship last season, set so many records, as did Ivan Toney, although I know Mitrovic is going to be having something to say about that, I think, at Fulham this year. They've not kept a clean sheet. I think they've only kept one clean sheet in the last 18 games. Do you think when you're in like a Brentford position, obviously it depends on strengths, is it best to try and go, well, why aren't we scoring goals? Or do you think you go back to real basics and go, well, let's start by not conceding and then build from there?
It should always be the latter. You never want to concede goals. It's psychologically, it's draining. Yeah. It affects you. It affects your confidence. I'm just thinking today, driving up, if City score early here, how that's going to feel for those Brentford players. Exactly. So I think it's very much a psychological battle now, but they do need to tighten up the defence. They do need to be resilient back there, and they need a bit of luck as well. Yeah. They need things to bounce off the crossbar and not go in the net, so they can just maintain that belief through the game. Yeah. Obviously, they need the quality in the final third. Every team needs that, but you can't be going into games conceding goals expecting to get anything out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. One player who might give them that little bit of a lift, though, of course, as well, which kind of came through at the back end of the season, a name that we all know in the Premier League, of course, Christian Erickson. First of all, so great that he's back playing the sport. Of course, he's not part of the team yet, probably still finding his feet, but for me, I think that's a great acquisition for Brentford for the back half of the year, 100%, isn't it, Trev?
And I echo what you just said there. We all seen the scenes in the summer. It was dreadful. I've got sons that play football. We were just about to have our Sunday roast, and you see him drop down like he did. So fantastic that he survived that. Fantastic that he's in a position now where he can start playing his trade again, because that's all he wants to do. He wants to play football. He's a wealthy boy. It's not to do with anything to do with that. He wants to play football. He loves football. We'd love to play if we still could. It's just in you when you're a professional footballer. You love the game so much. So it's great that he's here. He's not quite fit enough, but he's a great addition. Listen, he's proved over 10 years he's a world-class operator. And he was playing really well in that tournament as well. So, great acquisition. Probably what they need as well. A little bit of class, a little bit of experience, a little bit of a calming influence in that area. And as you know, the manager worked with him for the Denmark team under 17s when he was coaching that team, and when Erickson was a young player. So they've got a relationship. So it seems like it's a match made in heaven. Let's just hope we can see him on the pitch soon.
Yeah, maybe get that Ivan Toney link up for them as well. I mean, as well, you look at his age. He is only 29, Darius. It's
wow. That is a paper round.
But I guess it's to say that hopefully if all goes well, and maybe if he stays at Brentford beyond it or somewhere else, but actually you could probably still have 2 or 3 seasons of him, maybe getting back up to his best football. I mean, maybe going back to doing what he did here against us not too many years ago.
And that's what he'll want to do. Yeah. And he's at a place now. He's wanted. He's part of a team. I was just thinking then as well. One of the things that the manager said in that interview was they have to be sharp on set pieces. You've got somebody in there now who's a master at set pieces. So that might be another avenue for Brentford to find their way through games, to scrape results. It might be free kicks, it might be his delivery off corners and things like that allow the other players to go and feed off that. But it's certainly a great addition.
Yeah, it really, really is. And as we say, so great to have him back playing football indeed, and look forward to him pulling on that Brentford shirt as quickly as possible. I mean, I even saw as well, I don't know if you heard this, even Antonio Conte saying that he wouldn't be shutting the door on Ericsson returning to Tottenham. So the other managers know as well, if he finds a bit of form, then we're definitely keeping an eye on him.
I think if he proves his fitness and proves he's capable of sticking up with the Premier League, what they ask of you, because what the Premier League asks of you, and you were mentioning it before about Brentford scoring a lot of goals last season, this is a different level. Yeah, the Premier League is a different animal, and one thing that I'm going to be keeping an interesting eye on tonight is when City are having an attack and Brentford win the ball back on that transition, City are like piranhas. Yep. They lock on, they stick to task. Now, if they're not composed, they won't have the ball. They've got to be composed and brave and make angles, make passing lanes so they can receive the ball, look to maybe miss a line out as well and get the ball into the centre forward's feet, not make it a fight for him. If they can do that well tonight, I think they'll have a fighting chance of keeping the scoreline down. If they can, you're talking about 80% Manchester City possession, and if they have 80% possession, they're going to score a lot of goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, gents, we're going to take a slight pause from proceedings here talking about football, and we're going to play a little game. This is a new one we've invented called Who's Stat. Works like this. We have 3 clues to give you that I'm going to be drip feeding to you throughout the show. I'll give you 2 before the game kicks off. I'll give you a third at half-time if you've not worked it out. All we need you to do is tell us which footballer is this. So here we go. Who's Stat? Here is clue number 1. Including one is this player is a Premier League Goal of the Month winner this season. This player has scored 21 goals from outside the box, the most of any player since 2014. One of them being a Goal of the Month winner this season. Who could that be?
So we're looking at the profile as well.
Yeah, looking at the profile. I mean, actually, after last week, they've just said in the air, because it was so obvious last week, it could now be a general silhouette. It remains to be seen. But there's your first clue. I'll give you a second one before the end of the show. If you're thinking already, I've absolutely got it, then please drop us a tweet or use that WhatsApp number as well. Whose stat is a great, lovely game. Remember as well, your WhatsApp number is the best way that you can get in touch with us here on the show and put your questions, of course, to our brilliant guest today. Now, goal-scoring defenders. I don't know if any names spring to mind from your playing days of players you played with, but of course, this season, all of our centre-halves, John Stones, we've had Ruben Diaz, we've had Aymeric Laporte, Nathan Ake as well, all getting on the score sheet. For a team generally, Darius, how important is it that you're getting them goals also at the back end of the pitch as well?
Yeah, I think it frees the strikers up again. If the goals are coming in and there's no lack of goals, you go into a match with that freedom and knowing you can try things. There's a goal going to come. If they're not scoring those goals, then it's all down to you. The pressure is down to you personally. And some strikers like that pressure and thrive in it, and some strikers would prefer to share it. Yeah. I think Trev's right. I was a bit more of a sharer.
We begin with John Stones, and you said as well, you noticed after Pep's first season as well that actually he kind of grew in physicality, grew in strength, and he's kind of reaping the rewards a bit now, Trev.
Yeah, I remember one of the games, I think it might have been Monaco maybe, where he got out-muscled and he didn't sense the urgency in a certain scenario, and I thought, yeah, he's still a little bit green, but he's worked so hard. And just looking at his physicality, his upper body strength, he's a mature man now. He's an established Premier League defender. He knows what's expected. He's got to be on it, because forwards, if they turn up on the day, they're at it and they want to get goals and they're sniffing out and they're sharp and they're lively. You've got to match that. You've got to shut them out. You've got to match that, and Manchester City have done that so well. So all the defenders are at a certain level now where I dread to think what training's like, because often the intensity in training is more intense than match day. Yeah. So I can't imagine what the training's like.
Yeah, neither can I. We're going to look at Ruben Diaz as well now, who's popped up and scored. But I guess as well, Pep was actually talking about in his pre-match conference, Darius, that of course we lost our set-piece kind of coach who left with Arteta to Arsenal. We had our under-18s coach come up, but I guess as well it is the work being done on the training ground and actually being pinpointed that's enabling now us to see both of our all of our centre-halves score, and Ruben Diaz is no different. That's a centre-back with a strike like that's quite phenomenal, isn't it?
That just looks like a left winger, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a great strike, and you can tell that they've worked on things, and it is important. You talk about set pieces, and that's one way to try and beat City, by being strong at set pieces. But it's City doing the same things. They're working at them as well, and they're using it as an avenue to get goals, and it's working out for them. It is disappointing that they're losing coaches on set pieces, but it doesn't look like it's affected, the set pieces, so to speak.
Not at all. Pep was really gushing over our set piece coach, of course, who was part of the under-18s coach in was the under-18s coach last season. Next up, a man who actually could potentially have had 6 goals, and he was speaking about this, and he made sure that we all remembered that it could be 6. It is 3, but Aymeric Laporte has been on some firing form from goals and also popping up in quite big games as well.
It's great again. He's shown great resilience and character, because he's had difficult times at the football club where he's not played a lot of football, but he stayed true to himself. He stayed true to his profession, kept working hard in training. Give the manager no excuse to want to get rid of him. And if you show that good attitude in training, even when you're not, you can still be an asset to the squad. Yeah. You can still be there behind them, supporting them. And I think he must have done that, because he's obviously got his chance again, and he's played a lot of games this season. So I'm pleased for him, because he is a talented player. He's had a bit of difficulties with his international, France, and all of a sudden he's gone to Spain. Thought he did very well in the European Championships in the summer. So yeah, everything's coming together for him, and I think he's got a lot more to give.
Yeah, I think as well. Is this his best season yet? Because obviously I think last year was Diaz and Stones, and this year it has been more Diaz-Laporte. But the one central defender that stayed on most of the games has been Laporte this season. So arguably, probably his best season yet so far.
I think so, and I think those experiences that he's been through, those difficult experiences, has helped him. Yeah. I think that's been important. It's probably not what he would have wanted signing for City. He probably wouldn't have written down that's what I want to go through.
Yeah.
But I think that faith that the manager's had in him, the patience that the fans, supporters and the other players have had with him is ringing true now. So I think he's the one defender. He surprised me. I didn't know a lot about him till he came to the club, and I've done a bit of research. But he does look the most solid one. He's the one where if I was playing, I think, I'll go to the other side.
Yeah, go on. I'll leave that to someone else.
That is a strength of a striker. You say that to any striker. You know, which is the weakest defender, which is the weakest in possession.
Yeah.
Let him have it and then go and press him and see if he can deal with that press.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just intelligence there coming from a striker. That's what you do as a player.
Yeah.
You find out the weaknesses and you go and attack it.
And you got to execute it. Final word as well, of course, because the other central defender maybe not played as many games as you'd like, but I know a very much loved and valued squad member, of course, Nathan Ake. And actually, I know he's one of the best headers of the ball, because at his time at Bournemouth, he was always in my fantasy team, because he would always pop up with the goal. He honestly, I think, is one of the best headers of the ball in the club. His timing is so good, and he's not actually the biggest. I guess that is kind of, something that he's worked on, and you kind of just maybe have that little bit of a natural ability for, don't you, Trev?
Yeah, I mean, listen, with the dreadlocks as well. Of course it does.
Come on.
But I played with a player who was, he's only about 5'11", but he was like a monster in the air at Les Ferdinand, and very similar. They get the line of the ball nice and early, and then they go and attack that space. And I mean, great execution there. Jackknife header, gets up nice and early, good strong core, nice and steady, just watches it onto his head, and then a little bit of a move forward of his neck. And I'm pleased for him, because we know the difficulties he's been through his private life.
Massively.
And the way that he acted and shown his personality and character at that time, I think that tells you everything about the man.
Yeah, and one of the most magic things was that his dad did get to see him score as well for City as well in the Champions League, which was so beautiful and fitting. Now, before we quickly move on, Dutch legend Ronald Kuhlman is, of course, the leading all-time scoring defender. Can you guess how many goals he has to his name?
Please don't be more than me.
I said straight away, it's three figures.
It's three figures.
And I was like, wow.
I remember him, to be fair. It was a great player.
He didn't defend. He didn't defend.
He just pinned it.
Go on, what do you think? It's three figures. Guess.
126.
It starts with a 2.
It begins with a 2.
Jesus.
Are you ready for this?
Scary.
253
That's nuts.
goals to his name, which was only 7 off Aguero's record for City.
God.
That is frightening, isn't it? These are some good ones. Franz Beckenbauer, 109. Roberto Carlos was 113. And Ramos was 128. Laurent Blanc, 153 as well. Frightening, that, isn't
Top
it?
players.
Top players indeed. Right, let's take a slight pause now, because I want to ask you a very important question. How would you like to win? And you're wondering, has he had this behind in the old show? Yes, he has. A signed Phil Foden top. This one right here, don't worry, I'll have it ironed for you if we send it back out and you win it. But if you want to get your hands on this, it's very simple. City in the communities, you'll know lots about, of course. It's our brilliant kind of community-run project where we put so much money back into the community. They've got a new auction coming up, of course, of signed shirts from all our players. You can go on there and choose one of your favourite players, because they'll have signed a shirt just like this one by Phil Foden. So if you're thinking that you want to get involved in this, please do go get involved in this auction. It is going to be up there until the 16th of February. If you check now, there'll be a little website that pops up on your screen, charitystars.com # foundation / City in the community. So that is a great way you can get your hands on some signed merch. I will definitely be bidding for this one as well. So we'll be going head to head. And as I say, I'll personally iron it for you and send it off for you. And speaking of this man, let's hear who his ultimate footballer is.
Hi, I'm Phil Foden, and this is my ultimate football app. Scott Carson. Yeah. So he's like shouting on the mic as we come through in the morning, and when you speak to him, he just makes you laugh. He's naturally funny. So yeah, Scott Carson. Gundo. Yeah, he's a proper smart person. He's very quiet, but you can tell that he's very brainy at the same time. And
Gundogan's on the twist and scoring a truly super goal.
Cancelo, so he's wearing jeans every day, and yeah, he looks very smart, so I'll probably say him. He definitely finds the time to pick an outfit the day before he comes in. So. That's an easy one, I think. Bruyne. I've asked him, how do you see so many passes that no one else sees? And he says they don't know. He just thinks a step ahead of everyone, and he always sees the passes that no one can, and he gets many assists. So yeah, an easy one for me.
Sends that one in. It's headed home. It's Ruben Diaz who stayed forward.
Stamina. I don't. He's full of energy. Guy's always pressing it, even in the 90th minute. He doesn't look tired. He's got so much energy. So yeah, probably him. It helps the team. So when the team backs off a little bit and we're inviting pressure, he's still pressing and he sets the tempo for the other players. So I think it's really important to have a player like that in your team. There's a couple here that I could say, you know. I would say Fernandinho. Yeah, just dead powerful in training. You don't want to come up against him. He's solid. Yeah, so Fernandinho. Ruben Diaz. He's a great leader, always encouraging people if they make a mistake, which is nice, and yeah, he's a great captain. Yeah, first couple of training sessions, it's like he was here forever, so yeah, he set his mark early, and you can see how he's on the pitch now, very vocal. Fastest. Oh, it's not these two, innit? I'm going to say Kyle Walker. There's no point trying to like outrun him neither. You see him in the game when he just knocks it down the line, and unbelievable, no one can catch him. Oh, who has tattoos in our team? See, Eddie's there, so I'm going to say him. I don't know who else has got tattoos. But yeah, he's got a nice one there, so Ederson. Biggest heart? Yeah. Gabby. Yeah, he's got a big heart, Gabby. Loves football. Wherever he can play, whether it's in the changing room, he'll be playing two-touch. So, and yeah, he's a really nice guy off the pitch as well. He's got a good heart, so yeah, definitely him.
It takes it. Diaz tries to turn it in. Gabriel Jesus does. He needs just minutes.
Left foot. Yeah, got to be me on it. Got to put myself on there. Only fair. Got to get myself on the board, haven't I?
That one back towards the penalty spot. As that one is struck towards goal, and then some from Phil Foden.
Best right foot. Probably say Raz. I'm going attacking here. It's unfair on the defenders, but you know, thinking attack.
Over the outside of the boot, Sterling scores!
Hi, I'm Phil Foden, and this is my ultimate football app.
Love that. Gabriel Jesus with the biggest heart. Oh, my heart pines for Gabriel Jesus. He'll be back soon. And remember, you can win a signed Phil Foden shirt. That's part of our City in the Community auction. Loads of big shirts and names up for grabs. Just make sure you get your bid in before February the 16th. Now, two perfect people to speak about our brand new signing with, of course. It kind of came in right at the end of the January transfer window. And I've got to say, I'm very happy that we're going to be welcoming another Argentinian to Manchester in Julian Alvarez. Now, one of them, I think, one of those names where you kind of admire City's scouting network, because not one that I think too many had been been aware of, not too many people have come across, but 15 million, I think, around roughly is what they're talking about from River Plate. Having a hell of a couple of seasons and years over there. He's now himself really exciting signing and look forward to welcoming in the summer, hopefully, Trev.
Yeah, no, listen, I've watched videos of him. Scores a variety of goals from the left, from the right, centrally. He'll score from outside the box. So again, it kind of coincides with, he probably can play anywhere along the front. He primarily is a striker, but I think, again, I don't think Pep wants to earmark a player for a certain position. He wants them to be able to have that adaptability, and he seems like he could suit that role. It'll just sit, I think, when they get him in the summer, they'll have a look at him. And it'd be interesting to see where he is, because if he's not quite up to the standard of, say, Rory Delap, who's in the squad today, I'm really pleased about that. I've seen him bullying players in the EDS and all the bits and bobs, and I've been waiting for him to get involved, and it's great to see him involved. But what if they get him in and he's kind of not even at that level, because the intensity in England is going to be different to what it is in Argentina. So really interesting. I think he's got a lot of talent. Obviously knows where the goal is, but an exciting signing.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of kind of the big European clubs are also very interested, so it seems like shrewd business from City. And I guess as well it's important, Darius, for City fans as well, because what's going to be difficult for us not to do is straight away make the comparison to not just one of City's greatest strikers, but one of the Premier League greatest strikers, and actually just saying, listen, he's his own player, let's not be adding that pressure or weight to his shoulders, and he may need that year as most players do under Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it might take a few seasons, it might take a bit of time. It'd be interesting to see how he's affected by those good players around him. I think Trev's right. I think it does take a bit of time. It's got to be a big blow to the system, shock to the system, not blow, to come to the Premier League and try and get used to the way that the Premier League football's played. It's going to take a lot out of his system, a lot of getting used to.
That's just the rain.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, but history tells us. I mean, we spoke about Laporte earlier. Sometimes it might take a few seasons, a bit of experience being around the team until that quality really comes out and shines. And you'd like to think that it affects the other players around him positively as well. I remember that feeling, Trevor. Remember when we was at City and new players were starting to come in, Brazilian, Italians and French, and you just think, gosh, I've got to start doing a bit now, yeah. I might get in early tomorrow.
Again, that's a culture.
Yeah,
that's where the culture starts becoming part of your habits.
Yes.
You see, I got it with Paolo Di Canio when I was at West Ham. We'd come into training, you'd be at training 2 or 3 hours, and you go home. Paolo would come in, he'd be there doing pre-stuff, he'd be getting a rub, he'd do the training session with the rest of the lads, he'd do extra shooting, then he'd go in the gym for an hour, or he'd have his lunch, then go in the gym for an hour. Yeah. And you end up seeing how good he is on a match day, and you think,
I've got to do a bit of that, yeah.
You copy. Yes. And that's what we're talking about, the kids at the academy. They get brought into the first team squad to do some training sessions, and they see no one's doing loads of tricks and taking 7, 8, they're all going bang, 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 bang. So they copy you.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about bringing young lads in. No pressure. Train with the first team. Don't take liberties, because they'll take the ball off you and they might hurt you in the way they do it, because it's an aggressive game.
Yeah.
And straight away, they learn quick. That kind of discomfort and that uncomfortable feeling where you've got no time, you just end up playing two-touch. And that's the best way to progress and develop young players.
Absolutely. Well, Julian Alvarez, we cannot wait to welcome you to Manchester when you come in the summer, fingers crossed. If you've just tuned in, thank you for joining us on Matchday Live. My name is Kel Spellman. With me, our club legends, Darius, Vassell, and of course Trevor Sinclair. We're talking ahead of our game against Brentford, which is kicking off in around 15-20 minutes time. Let me bring you our starting 11 if you've not had a chance to have a little look at it yet. It looks like this. Ederson in goal. We were kind of set in the studio, but who knows, that we think it could be Cancelo at right back, a partnership of Stones and Diaz in the middle and Laporte at left back, but who does know, as I say. Rodri is holding. In front of him, Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, and a forward three of Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden and Raheem Sterling. On the bench, Zach Stefan, Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, Ilkay Gundogan, Jack Grealish, Oli Zinchenko, Fernandinho, Liam Delap and James McAtee. If you're thinking where's Jesus and Palmer, Pep did mention in his pre-match conference that they are our 2 injuries. Gents, before we get into our brand new feature, first, last, worst and best, we've also got our game Who's Stat. This is where I give you some clues throughout the show and ask you to work out who the player is. So those with a keen eye will have seen the clue that came up when screen was not what I was saying, but clue 1, I'll remind you, was this player is a Premier League Goal of the Month winner this season. It's clue 1. This player is a Premier League Goal of the Month winner this season. Clue 2. This player is a full international for a world top 10 ranked European country. And I've got to say, there's some great guesses already coming in. Thank you. You can get in touch via Twitter or WhatsApp. I mean, some of them not even City players. Coutinho, Danny Ings, which is great. Thank you, Mr. Unruly. We appreciate that. But I can give you my own little clue. That's not the third clue. It is one of our Manchester City players, so you don't have to worry. And there's a few nods over here to my left, so I feel the guest might have a little idea of who it might be. If you do, get the guess in. You got it, Trev, do you think?
He was struggling. I had to tell him.
I was nowhere near it.
Don't worry, you'll never be as bad as Sean Wright Phillips at guessing things, ever. Well, of course, I'll be giving you that third clue at half-time as well. Right, so this brand new feature, it's kind of first, worst, best and last. This is where we ask our guests to think of their first game, their last game, their best and their worst game. And for you two, we're going to look at your time spent together. So, first of all, Trevor, I'll ask you, can you remember the first time you two played together?
Was it for England?
It was indeed.
I think it was when, and I remember the game because we played at Ellen Road against Italy. We got beat 2-1.
Oh, he knows it well there. Did you remember that, Darius?
That's what happens when you turn up late. You don't get inside information.
We've got it here. As you say, it was Italy. It was Italy 2-1. I mean, what your? I mean, that's?
Oh, this is a different
That's
one.
the United game. We'll But can you remember it quite well then? Sorry,
I remember the game quite well because I was new on the scene for England. I'd not been playing. I didn't play a lot of games for England, but I remember all 12 of them, and I do remember that one because we lost the game, and Joe Cole was a very young player at the time, and he made a mistake in the midfield, which led to their winning goal. And I remember he got criticised afterwards, and I felt a bit sorry for him at the time. I don't think that would happen now. I think people would manage that better. But at the time, it was still quite a harsh environment when you made mistakes. And yeah, Joe took a little bit in the backer.
Of course, as well, I mean, you kind of have the partnership for international, and we were able to enjoy, you two playing on the same pitch for City. When that does happen, does it kind of help you when you then play with each other on the international stage?
It's a great feeling to have somebody there who's been there and done that, such a great player, and they just keep you going, because it is harsh. Certainly back then, it's a harsh environment, and there's so many things that can knock you down, that can make you feel like, oh, just get me off the pitch, just get me off the pitch. You've got players like Trevor there to keep you going, keep you going, encouraging you. And fair play, I think that had a lot to do with my success at England, having players like Trev around me, because it was a daunting experience at first, but I settled in really quickly.
And both myself and Darius, we played for kind of unfashionable clubs when we got into the England squad. So he was obviously at Villa, I was at West Ham. Historically, there's never a lot of players from them two clubs that are in the national team, but so we are almost stuck together.
We've drawn together that one.
Exactly. They're kind of the odd ends there. You've got Chelsea, you've got United, and then the others. But what I would say is when you're in that environment, I mean, it's top drawer, isn't it? I mean, you look back, and a lot of people say, do you wish you played now, like, because the lads, what they get paid? The reason I wish I played now is because at half time on a cold day, you can put your boots in the microwave to warm them up. We never had that, and my feet used to get freezing.
Gosh, those were the days, eh? Looking at your last game, don't worry, Darius, so I'll put you on the spot. Your last game together for Manchester City was in 2007, and it was a 1-0 loss to United. Do you remember this game? Oh,
The penalty miss.
yeah.
I actually erased that from my memory.
It's like, that wasn't me.
Oh, God.
Blame the team, blame the producers.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that. I did remember it now.
Tough game that though as well, wasn't it? And then Ronaldo got his penalty as well. But always, I mean, we're going to look at one of your best games. I think I know one. But obviously playing in a derby as well together, that must have been class.
Yeah, that's better. Put that on.
Shall we look at your best game then? Because we're going to ask you. But I mean, I'm guessing this will be one of them. Of course, that 3-1 win in which you both scored as well, didn't you?
Yeah, great memories. I remember it was Evra's first game for Manchester United. Oh. We started the game well, didn't we? We were on top.
Yeah. The fans were brilliant that day as well, weren't
unbelievable
they?
Atmosphere. Unbelievable atmosphere. It was, really good memory.
Were there some big celebrations as well after this game, gents?
Probably.
I would say so, yeah. I would say so. It was massive though, was it?
We probably partied until Wednesday after that game.
Yeah. Did pre-match at the bar.
But
yeah,
listen,
Coley as well.
The lead up to it in Manchester is just insane. Everyone's talking about. I mean, it's brilliant feat and finish there from Kohler. He was great at City, actually. You know, he'd been it was obviously towards the end of his career, but and Darius' finish there, phenomenal feet.
Like,
Good
I've
from
got
Cole
these
there.
players all around me. So I've got Sinks on my right. I've got Coley inside me. How can I not score? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just going to find me.
Look, great finish as well, composure at the end.
And would it be a different sound in the stadium in a derby day if you scored?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, the excitement from the fans,
That's a good goal, yeah.
leading up to it, like I said, it was unbelievable. And then
Go
to
on.
put a performance
Finish
in
it
like
off.
this,
Stevie
and then he
Arnold.
just steadies himself, doesn't he? Wins a little 50-50 there.
Who else do you want on that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, pass appreciation.
yeah.
Robbie Fowler's got size 6 feet. If you put it anywhere near his left foot, it's getting finished. And actually, but Pete, a lot of people don't realise this about Robbie. I used to do a lot of warm-up drills with Robbie before games where you're about 30 yards away from each other. And once you've done your warm-up with the warm-up coach, and you just get a ball between two, and maybe you lash the ball at each other a few times from about 30 yards. Robbie Fowler's accuracy with both feet was insane.
Really?
Yeah, and for me, it doesn't matter if it's on his right foot or his left foot. He's one of the true strikers of the ball that I've ever played with.
A lot of people say this as well. And I spoke to strikers at England, your Michael Owens, Dion Dublin's around at Aston Villa, and they always say the same thing about him. So I've seen it myself as well. We've seen it in training.
of
You know,
course.
when you whisper, you're at the back of the shooting queue, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, quality.
Yeah, like that. You can go after him, lad. You can go after
You step
him.
one more.
Yeah. Can't you? Well, the other one that we ask you to think about is kind of one of your worst games maybe that you played together. Is there any one of them that kind of stand
I've got
out?
one, yeah.
Go on,
I think,
Darius.
was you playing, Trev? But Sven's last game,
No, I wasn't playing in that.
8-1 to
Oh, that one.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That would have been mine. You'd have to go to Trevor.
I definitely wasn't involved in that.
No, that was that must have been hard
It was
to
horrible.
take.
I felt it for the manager. I felt so responsible for
Him
how
leaving his. Yeah.
it was horrible. And I think a lot of the players felt like that. But again, that was the start of the breaking up of that team.
Yes.
And I suppose look at City now.
No, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
But one of
I'm not going to go
Trev.
negative. I'm going to go positive again, but it was a different game. It was the 4-3 win at White Hart Lane in the cup.
Oh.
So we 3-0 down, and I remember Nicholas Anelka, and I love Nicholas, and he was a great lad, wasn't he? He kind of bent over it, and then looked over to the bench and said, "Get me off." And I thought, if that was me, and you had a little bit of a tweak on your hamstring, your leg would have to be hanging off
Before
to
you
come
coming off the pitch, yeah.
At 3-0 down. And he went off, and I think soon after it was half time. And I think the lads just got together and thought, you know what, let's go and win the second half at least. You know, forget about him coming off, let's do it ourselves. And got back to 3-3. I got substituted, and I remember John Mackham finishing to make it 4-3 to us. I wasn't even on the pitch.
Yeah.
I was like in the centre circle. Actually, we went down to the corner flag, didn't we? We were all celebrating down in the corner flag. Unbelievable feeling, right next to the away fans. And you can imagine, I mean, we've had a chat about this before, you can imagine what the fans were like at the stadium, but even people at home were like, they've given up at half time, and then all of a sudden
That's
they're getting back
insane,
involved,
yeah.
and then to actually go and win it was a great comeback.
I wondered, obviously, because at 3-0 down, you know, I mean, stranger things have happened at sea, but it was tough to come back from that. Can you remember, was there a point in the game where you kind of went, not only could maybe not win it, but when we were like, no, there's something in this for us here? Or did you come out with that belief, or...
I think maybe in the changing rooms at half time when you think...
I think what
really-
you said, when you get the lads together like that and the lads do it, and it's not the manager or the coach, the lads say, you know what, forget this, let's give it a go. I think that gives you every chance. One
Spirit.
goal, 3-1.
Yeah.
That's like a bit
2-0,
free to...
it's a dangerous scoreline if
Yeah.
you're winning 3-1. So I think we just got belief from that and went on, and it was just great to win.
Do you know, I always say as well, when some friends ask me how far have City come, I said, put it this way, I said, we won 4-3 in a semi-final and we released a DVD of it. That's all we had to show for that season, you know what I
Wow.
mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is one of the most magical games, I think, that stays with us for all City fans. And one more positive note for first, last, best and worst. Talk me through this, Darius.
Oh, yeah, moves. That was like training.
Do you coach that now, Darius?
I'm rolling around all the time on the floor. But I should have shot at the end of that, my dad
You
said.
should have done breakdancing. This is unbelievable moves. This is going down well in the nightclub.
Mate, if you had shot as well, can you imagine?
God.
Well, listen, if you're watching and you see at home, there's an amazing light show that now take place sometimes behind us. Before we get predictions, of course, from our guests, let's take a look at this week's Cryptic City. This is where we have some clues. You have to try and work out the player. So we have a few quizzes for you now throughout the show, don't we? Here we go. Cryptic City. You can use that hashtag Man City or that WhatsApp. Okay. Past or present Manchester City player? I mean, I've no idea what that fourth clue is, apart from Tong. Okay, not too sure with that, gents. Don't know if anyone else is having any luck. No idea.
Struggling with that. I'm usually good at these.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one, that one, isn't it? Well, hashtag Man City is the way that you can get your guesses into us. And we've now getting some good guesses as well for our Who's Starting as well. To the guys getting in questions, I've earmarked some that I'm going to put to our guests at half-time and at full-time, because it's not long before, of course, we kick off against Brentford. So do join us at half-time. Last thing for me to do, gents, is to ask you for predictions for today's game. Darius, I'll begin with you. How can you see this?
I was thinking I'm going to go 4. I'm going to be positive. I'm going for the 5.
Going to go for the 5. Yeah. Love that.
No disrespect to
no
position,
disrespect.
but yeah,
I'll go 3. I think they'll get a few goals ahead and just manage the game. Hopefully get the young lads on, give them some game time.
Absolutely, gents. Absolute pleasure as always. Thank you so much. We'll be back at half-time. And listen, on our commentary today, we of course got the legend Alistair Mann, who is joined by Andy Morrison. So go on the Manchester City app, get the full commentary on there, and then come join us at half-time and at full-time. Thank you for watching. Last thing for me to say is, come on City.